Today we are going to take joint stock company. This is the last topic from chapter 2, forms of business organization. Okay. In the previous videos we had discussed about sole proprietorship, joint Hindu family business, partnership, cooperative societies. And the last form of business organization is joint stock company, and it is the most important form and the most popular form of business organization. Now, there were many limitations of the previous forms of business which we had discussed. Like in sole proprietorship, unlimited liability was one of the drawbacks. Limitation of funds was there. In joint stock company, unlimited members can come, but they were not interested to contribute capital because of the democratic pattern of governance. Okay, partnership had its own limitations. So, to fulfill the requirements of the growing business, the size of the business, joint stock company form was introduced. Now, this joint stock company form of organization is a voluntary association of individuals who come together to undertake a business activity. Business activity means it is done on a regular basis and with the objective of earning profit. So they all come together, they contribute capital. The total capital requirement of the company is divided into small equal units which can be easily transferred. So these units are known as transferable shares. Okay, the ownership of which is one condition to become a member of joint stock company. So we can say that, I am repeating, underlined words are there, keep them in mind. Joint stock company is a voluntary association of individuals who come together to undertake a business activity for earning profits. The capital of the business is divided into small equal units which are easily transferable and are known as shares. The company form of organization is governed by the Companies Act 2013 or any other previous law. Like before 2013 there was the Companies Act 1956, and before that there were few more company acts. You remember the name, the Companies Act 2013. Okay, now we can even define the joint stock company as a company is an association of persons formed for carrying out business activities and has a separate legal existence. Okay, the company is having a separate legal existence. In case of sole proprietorship, HUF, partnership, the enterprise was not having a separate legal entity. In case of cooperative society, there was a separate legal entity. The members and the business organization was separate. In case of joint stock company also, the company is having a separate legal status independent of its members. In the eyes of the law, it is a artificial person. Okay, so another terms, a company can be defined as an artificial person having a separate legal entity, perpetual succession, and a common seal. These two terms, perpetual succession, common seal, we will be again discussing. Okay, in the next slide. Now the features of joint stock company: it's an artificial person, separate legal entity, registration under the Companies Act 2013 or any previous act, perpetual succession, that means its existence is not affected by the members coming in or leaving the company. Common seal, since it is an artificial person, it cannot sign itself, so the seal is used. The shares can be transferred from one person to another, that is the ownership or the membership can be transferred. Limited liability, this is one of the best merit or advantage of joint stock company. The members have limited liability. And then control, how the affairs or the day-to-day management is done. Okay, so we will discuss all these points one by one. Separate legal entity. Now see, in case of joint stock company, incorporation or registration under the Companies Act is compulsory. Without the registration, it cannot come into existence. And this registration gives it a separate legal entity in the eyes of law. In the eyes of law, company is considered as a entity, artificial entity, because it is not a living being. Okay. Now, separate legal entity means the members, the shareholders, and the company are different. It is not affected by the coming in or going of members. If the members die, the company is not affected. If the members become insane, the company is not affected. Okay. So, company has a separate legal entity. It can buy property in its own name. It can file a case against any other person or company. Okay. So, in the eyes of law, it has a separate legal entity. Artificial person, as discussed, it is having a separate legal entity. It is considered as a person in the eyes of law. Okay. But it is not considered as a natural human being, because it does not have a physical body. It do not drink, breathe or walk, but it can buy property, it can enter into agreement, it can borrow money, it can lend money. Okay. It can do everything what a person can do, natural person can do, except eating and drinking and moving around. Perpetual succession. The word perpetual means continuous. So the company continue for a very long period of time. As discussed in the previous 2 points, it is artificial person. It is not a natural person. Okay, but this like natural persons, a company is born when its registration is done, and it can come to an end also, but the legal procedure has to be followed. Okay. So a company has a perpetual succession, means continuous succession. A company is created by law and can only bring to an end to its existence. The law can, a proper legal procedure has to be followed to close the company. Okay. The death, insanity, retirement of its members do not affect the life of company. Registration, it is compulsory, it is mandatory for a company to register itself. Without registration, no company can come into existence. Separation of ownership and management. This is one of the best features. Okay, like you can, if you study some of the very successful companies in India, like Infosys is there, TCS is there, many Tata Group companies are there. Then you can see ITC is there, L&T, Larsen and Toubro is there, one of the biggest engineering companies in the world, successful engineering companies in the world. There the ownership, the shareholders are not managing. They have elected or their representatives become the directors and they are managing. These directors are professional peoples, so they are able to manage the big operations, huge operations of a company. Okay, read this. The shareholders or members elect their representative called directors of the company, who manage the affairs of the company on behalf of members by appointing professional experts. Even the other forms of organizations had certain limitations. They were not able to hire expert because of lack of funds. But in case of companies, they have this no access to huge funds, so they are able to hire good professional people. Examples. Okay, ITC is there, L&T company is there, many Tata Group companies are there, Infosys is there. They all are managed by professional people. The shareholders are not managing the company. Limited liability. Okay, like unlike in this case of sole proprietorship, partnership, where the person fears taking risk, here because limited liability is there, the shareholders unpaid part of the share is only his liability. If he has paid the full amount, then there is no liability. Okay, so one of the features or merits of this joint stock company is that the members have limited liability to the extent of unpaid amount of shares. Okay, what is their liability? To the unpaid amount of shares. If they have paid the full amount, then there is no liability. Common seal. Now, as discussed, company is an artificial person, it cannot sign itself, so its directors or this representatives sign on its behalf, and the seal is used on behalf of the company. Okay, on the documents and all, the common seal is used, and it is considered as the official signature of company. If there is no sign, that means the company has not signed, so this agreements will not be applicable or enforced on the company if there is no seal. Okay. Transferability of shares. The capital of the company is divided into small equal units known as shares, and shares can be easily transferred, except in case of private companies. There are certain restrictions, because in case of a private company, the maximum number of shareholders is 200. So they have put certain restrictions on transferability of shares. Otherwise, in case of public companies, the shares can be easily transferred. These shares are exchanged through stock exchanges. Okay, shares are traded. So the person, if he is not interested in remaining as a shareholder in a company, he can sell it to another person. Okay. So the capital of the company is divided into shares which can be easily transferred to another person or entity. In case of private company, there are certain restrictions. The shares cannot be easily transferred.